All right, welcome to the exclusive interview section, and I wanted to kick off this section with my good friend Austen, as he's currently on his phone.
Self-development.
And I wanted to ask him some questions on how to actually have fun when you're going out, because every time I've been out with this guy, he's like the most positive, like fun person, and he gets into like that zone where he's just giving value really, really fucking quickly. So, yeah, welcome.
Shalom.
And let's start it off with saying like where you started from and like your story and shit like that.
Yeah, so way back in the day, had a pretty normal childhood. When I was 12, my mom got diagnosed with cancer. She was given 6 months to live. 6 months later, she passed away. And then I kind of hit a low point after that. A lot of things, cascaded in my life, some bad experiences. And yeah, I just got really depressed. And then after that, Vadim's literally in a towel right here. Can we just draw attention to this? The beluga has arrived. The beluga almost had his towel come down.
I'm just grabbing it.
So yeah, I hit a low point in my life. Got really depressed, and I fell into learned helplessness where I just became the victim, and I thought, like, why is this happening to me? And
Don't be the victim.
the beluga has spoken. And so yeah, I hit this low point, and I was actually on the verge of suicide for about 4 years. So very dark times. And then I realized on a day, like, if I'm gonna die, why not just do one thing before I die? And I went on this little nature walk because it's something I did as a kid, was always going to nature. And like for the first time in 4 years, I just finally felt this like a little bit of happiness bubbling up inside of me. And it was a weird feeling because for 4 years, all I basically felt was like shit. Like I just looked at the ground wherever I was walking. I would like lay on this bank of this lake by where I lived and just like stare at the stars and like wait to die basically. So yeah, it's pretty pathetic. But yeah, so once I found that feeling again, I was like, shit, I want to get as much of this into my life as I can. So that's amazing. So I made a few steps. I, went to my grandparents' house, got around some better influences, started eating healthier, got out of brain fog, started exercising. I started playing ultimate frisbee. And then I gradually, through a job I had doing sales, I came out more and more of it. And then I discovered game and self-development, and I just like started applying that intensely, like these positive mindsets, positive psychology especially, and gradually came out of that, depression. And I think I've come to be grateful for that, because then I can teach people who, maybe you're watching this, you're a little depressed. I can teach you basically how to do similar things and help you that way. So yeah, basically had a normal life, got super depressed, on the verge of suicide, and then carved my way out. And now I do basically the same job Mo does, dating coaching, teaching clients in person, online coaching, and managing a YouTube channel. So
Dope. What would you say was like, I guess like what was like your biggest motivation? Was it just that you were curious about like feeling happy, or was it that like you really, really wanted to change, that you started like eating healthy and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. And like what was like the step to actually break out of that pattern of like, yo, I've been eating shit, I've been doing all this bullshit? Like what was the actual steps to completely break out of it? Or was it just like one move?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it wasn't one thing. It was really, really, really gradual. Like I felt like the first steps I took were getting away from negative influences, like the people I was around. People I was around during that time were very, very negative. So by literally moving away from where I was living, I lived in Florida. I moved to West Virginia with my grandparents, so I basically broke all the connections I had to those negative emotions and those those negative mindsets and the helplessness. So it allowed me to kind of reset a little bit. So that was a big step. Another big step was quitting porn. My brain was just fucked from watching porn, because that's a little bit of how I coped with the intense depression. It was like that little glimmer of like stimulation for, 30 minutes a day that, I could look forward to. And basically what porn does is it makes you addicted to a certain level of stimulus, and it decreases the experience you can get from anything else in relation to that experience. So for example, drinking a nice cup of tea, going on a walk doesn't really do anything for you after you've watched like 18 people gang banging an 18-year-old Swedish girl. So yeah, getting out of porn. Another thing was joining a group where I felt like I was part of something. Because for me, I felt like I was an outcast, like no one was, I felt like different, like cut from a different cloth than everyone else. So being part of a group, like I joined debate team, I joined the ultimate club at my college, and I joined a libertarian group, like an anarchist group. And like I found people who were in line with the same ideas and activities that I was into, and I kind of felt like I was starting to find my place. And a lot of people like push that idea of like intense individualism, of being your own man and like doing all those things yourself. But part of being a human is being part of a group. And if you don't have those connections to people in a group, you kind of lose one of the best experiences of life. Like that's even if you don't even believe in religion, or you think God exists or something, being part of a religious group feels good. It's good to be part of a group. Let's see another step. Oh, one big one was nutrition. But like as you've seen with nutrition, it's a very, very gradual process. You're like, oh, this is healthy. And then you learn, okay, only part of that type of food group is healthy. And then it's only healthy in this context. And if you cook it and you char it and there's black pieces on it, then that's cancerous. If you undercook it, then that's bad. And like all these different like things. And nutrition, like feeding your brain good nutrition that it runs on, is essential for being happy. Like you can't just be in brain fog, or at least for me. I don't know. Some people can eat shitty and feel like pretty decent and be happy. But for me, if I eat something shitty, it's just like, oh, feels like I have to work through something extra to be happy. So
if I'm shitty, my energy just completely fades. Like,
yeah.
I can't even do anything.
And then if you feel bad, then you start making like more negative comments. Oh fuck, like this and that. So those are some of the steps that I took to get out of it.
Okay, dope. I always wanted to ask you this, like even if we weren't even doing a video, just in general, like what's going on through your head when you approach a girl, for example, and she just like disregards you? Because even last night I saw you do it. Like the girl disregarded you, and you're like, all right, and then you were just like still giddy and shit. And I was like, sometimes that fucks with me, because like if I do it and the girl disregards me, I'm like, oh shit, and then I have to take like more action before I get into that headspace where like I feel free and like giddy and stuff. But for you, it's like as if like when we go out, like in the beginning of the night, you're just like ready. You're always just like happy the entire time. So like what's going on in your head when like you don't get the validation, for example, or let's say you're feeling a little bit stifled, and then like you just start approaching girls and giving value right off the bat?
Yeah, so for me, when I started out, it was kind of like that. It was like, holy shit, like if I don't get it, then something bad's gonna happen. That kind of like mindset. And it's intense. The feeling is so profound when you first start. Like my first approach felt like I did cocaine. My first rejection felt like, I don't know, like I was being like whipped or something. Like, I don't know. The emotions are so intense. But over time, those emotions kind of like dim down a little bit, and you can start to just like, not have any attachment to what the girl thinks, and you just kind of like enjoy it. And what I did was I trained my mind to associate approaching and rejection with good things. So there's this concept in psychology called Hebb's rule that is neurons that fire together wire together. So if let's say you are in bed, and you usually associate bed with sleep, but now you're also using your phone in bed. So when you're using your phone, you're stimulating your brain with like using Facebook and stuff like that. So instead of just having the bed as a place for sleep, you're having the bed as a place for intense stimulation from your phone. So it's gonna help. It's gonna disrupt your sleep a little bit.
Damn, dog.
Similarly,
Damn, dog.
Similarly, if you're going out and you're approaching a girl and you're training your brain to find humor in it and ask yourself what was funny about that, what was good about that, like how much of a boss I am for doing that, what was crazy about that experience, finding the positive outlines of that experience, then over time your brain will start to associate positivity, good emotions with approaching. Same thing for rejection. You get rejected.
Wait 1 second, let me just make sure it's still going.
Okay. Yeah, so same thing with rejection. If you're going out and you're getting rejected and a girl says like, get the fuck out of here, and you like, holy shit, you take perspective, like a third party perspective, you look at the situation kind of as like a sitcom, like you're in Seinfeld and George just got rejected and you're like, ho 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 ho, George just got rejected. And it's kind of funny to you. You can start to see little glimmers of humor in it, and over time you just like expand that, and it gets to the point where when I get rejected now, no matter what the situation is, I laugh. Because I've trained my brain that rejection is funny. And the cool thing about that too is when you get rejected and you find it funny, your state goes up. So your emotions that you're experiencing go up. What do most guys do when they go up? They're looking for validation. They're looking to take something. Just training yourself to find positives of whatever you're going through. Get a rejection, what was good about that approach? What was funny about that rejection? Even using that rejection for future pickups. So for example, Mo rejects me, says he has a boyfriend. I approach the next year, I'm like, hey listen, my name's Austen, I do have a boyfriend, but let's see where this goes. So you can use that too. So.
Dope. I didn't even know about the bed thing. I was fucking sick because I always use my phone in bed, and I realize like right now that it's probably bad. Like I'm training my brain. Okay, one more question. What are some like practical steps for someone who's going out? Let's say they're new, and they just don't know how to get themselves to have fun when they're like talking to girls and stuff. Like, what are some like exact things that they can do to be able to get that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start off by saying what not to do. And guy, a conference that we were at yesterday, this guy came up to me and he's like, how do I, let's say I'm in a coffee shop, right? Hot girl walks into Starbucks, how do I approach that hot girl? And I just told him straight up, like, if you're not at the point right now that you're social throughout your day, it's going to be very hard for you to switch into that mode. Like, for Mo and I now, hot girls in a coffee shop, it's like, there may be some resistance in us, but we can just be like, oh, whatever, it's normal, I just chat, like, it's not really a big deal. Because we've had all this, like, practice and training our brains to be like, oh, just approach, no big deal, it's a cute girl, I'm a guy, like, girls like guys, cool. And but for a lot of guys starting out, they feel the pressure. So the first thing not to do is wait until you see the hot girl to do anything. And so for a lot of my students who are new, I focus on doing some warm-ups. Some people don't need warm-ups, but to decrease the time to get from here to here, you want to, or basically to jump from here to here, you want to have some incremental steps. So first thing I have them do is do some stretches, get themselves like warmed up. Then I have them do some vocal exercises. So a good one for that is going from high to low, like because if you're just working in a coffee shop and your voice is like, you haven't even talked to anyone all day, your vocal cords ain't even warmed up. So we do some vocal exercises. Next we go to verbal exercises. If you haven't talked to anyone all day, your brain's not going to be in that verbal mode. The Broca's area of your brain, well, different areas of your brain take different amounts of time, but like to get your verbals going takes about 5 minutes. So a couple tips with that. One is you can just, if you're alone, you can just do a verbal exercise where you're like, okay, I'm going to talk for like 2 minutes straight. So you talk for whatever comes to your mind. I'm talking to the camera right now. Vadim came in here. He's a beluga whale. There's a white shark in the waters. Arctic, North Pole, Santa Claus, elves. Elves are like, decorating things for Christmas. Mo's got a sick tattoo. I don't have a tattoo. I have a scar. So just talking nonsense like that for 2 minutes straight. Then I have them do an exercise that Mo taught me, which is basically piggybacking on the previous sentence. So you say like, grass is green. Tom Green is a guy who has a talk show. Showing you guys game is very interesting to me. Me, Myself, and I is a great song by, a rap group. So you see, you kind of do that. And a lot of game is just like coming up with like random topics. Yeah. Like, because a lot of guys think I don't have anything to say. Yeah. But you can free associate on anything. iPhone, okay, what does that make you think of?
Apples.
Apples, bananas,
fruits.
You're fruity. I just have a picture of myself with fruit covering me in this. So yeah, piggybacking on that. But if you're outside and there's like people around, you don't want to just like talk to yourself. You can either call a friend, have the golden phone conversation where you talk to your friend for a bit, or you can just like pretend you're talking to someone, be like, yeah, the meeting got canceled. Dude, fucking sell that China stock, like, immediately. And get your vocals warmed up and your verbals warmed up. And then you start doing some social exercises. So, like, for example, me starting out, I would just say hi to people in the street, like, hey, hey, hey. And that desensitizes yourself to, like, social interaction. High-fiving people, complimenting people loudly.
You're going for a high five.
High-fiving people. And yeah, and then by the time you're at the coffee shop, you're talking to the person who's working there, like, oh, hey, cool, yeah. And if you talk to people who are working in stores and you snap them out of autopilot mode by like asking them like, yo, how's your day going, man? Cool, yeah, no, I understand it like sucks to work here. Or like, listen, you look tired, just go in the back, take a nap, I'll take over your shift. Like, giving people value throughout your day is one of the most essential things you can do. Because it's training yourself to give value. That way when you see the hot girl, you're not thinking, okay, I don't want to give value to anyone else, just that girl, and I kind of want to take the girl's value. It's more like give value to everyone, then you see that hot girl, and you can just do the same thing with her. Did that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
More than enough. Okay, and then last thing would be, what else would you get? Like, if you could give one tip for anyone who's starting out, like the number one thing that has massively helped you out in like your entire journey, what would that one tip be?
Self-amusement. Learn how to have fun. Find what humor you resonate with. Ask yourself what comedians you resonate with. What do you joke around about when you're with your friends? What kind of like YouTube channels do you find funny? And when you find out what sense of humor you have, you can just use that same humor when you're out with girls. Like, I like the Eric Andre show. I think it's the funniest shit ever. So I'll just take like random things he says and use them out, or I'll like improv off of stuff he says. So for example, he uses absurd humor and like kind of like, I don't know, psychedelic type humor. So for example,
fucked up shit.
Yeah, it's just like out of left field stuff. So, for example, a girl says, like, I have a boyfriend. You can respond with, call him up right now, I'll eat his ass. Bring him over here. So that's one I've been using a lot. And finding the humor that you resonate with will enable you to have so much fun talking to girls, too. So it's not like this logical exchange. It's just like, she says something and you can just have, like, something, like, funny that makes you laugh to provide. Another thing with fun is if you are not having fun, if you view game as a stressful working experience, like it's like work for you to go out and just like grind approaches, you are not going to get good at game. Point blank period. The people who get good at game are the people who enjoy it. Because if you enjoy doing something, you're going to do it a lot. And if you do something a lot, you tend to get good at it. So find how to have fun in game. It could just be finding someone good to go out with. I like going out with Mo because he's pretty fun. He's like an interesting guy to go out with. He likes cracking jokes. if you're around someone who's super serious, it's going to bring you down to that level as well. And ultimately, what do girls like? Do they like the logical, serious, verbal layer, or do they like the emotional, like humor, your realness, your fun vibe, right? So they like that. So find people who can just be themselves and have that good vibe with them throughout their conversations. And it doesn't even matter if they're really good at technical game. If they are good at providing a fun experience, just even for you, then that's a better person to go out with than someone who's very serious, like the ISIS game where they're standing in the corner, like looking for Habibi. ISIS game coming February 2017. Pass this product.
All right, dope. I think that answers all my questions. That was really fucking good. If you guys want to check out more of Austen's stuff, then I'll just post like all the links down below to his YouTube channel, website, and yeah, just check out his stuff. Thank you a lot, and go on to the next interview.